At dawn, in a dusty valley, the caravan slowly makes its way along a winding path. Mountains loom in the background, and sparse trees barely move in the quiet breeze. Figures of people, perhaps guards or travelers, move around the carts, waiting for unknown dangers. Without warning, the peaceful picture is shattered by an invasion of goblins, green-skinned creatures with a thirst for battle. They rush in, armed to the teeth, their eyes full of malice and aggression, and they seem unstoppable in their quest for destruction. The defenders of the caravan, courageous and determined, are ready for defense. One is armed with sword and shield, another holds a pistol, their eyes full of determination. They are diverse, each with their own story, but united by a common goal: to protect the caravan from the threat. The battle erupts with incredible fury. Goblins and defenders clash in merciless combat. The sound of steel, the clash of shields, the screams and roars of the goblins fill the air. The defenders, despite the fear that permeates their every gesture, do not back down. At the end, a man with a disgruntled and concerned expression, probably a leader or defender, laments that such attacks have become a daily reality. His tone and demeanor set him apart from the crowd. He seems tired from the endless struggle, but his determination does not falter. In the golden morning light, when the shadows still lie in long strips on the ground, the goblins gather to attack. Their grim figures loom against the mountains, their gazes glowing with the fire of battle. The leader of the caravan, a stout man with an expensive beard and mustache, marked with a badge of authority on his chest, looks at the coming battle. The whirlwind of battle erupts as the goblins, emitting war cries, attack. Among the defenders, one stands out, a mysterious masked warrior, masterful with his sword. His movements are filled with amazing precision and grace, and he cuts through the air like a dancer on a stage where every step could cost a life. The goblins rush forward, but they are met by the might and bravery of the defenders. Steel collides with steel, and the sounds of battle echo through the neighborhood, telling a story of courage found in the face of a ruthless foe. So the story continues. A guy sitting in front of a computer finds refuge in the virtual worlds of the games he has loved since his early childhood. This is his salvation, his world where he can be anything he wants to be and where gaming is not considered a sin, at least not too great. Suddenly, he is plunged into a world of play where he becomes part of a castle system and poverty, full of betrayal and murder. Amidst the splendor and gloom, he encounters ruthless monsters that stalk him at every turn. In this world, he meets and fights dragons so powerful and fearsome that their mere presence makes the air shake. But the protagonist, a guy in a black robe, does not lose his calmness and determination. He takes up arms, does not give up in the face of danger and troubles that fall on him. His eyes read determination. My name is Dehaman. No, my memory depleted self. All this is a reflection of his inner world, his struggles and dreams that he records in his diary, searching for answers and meaning in endless virtual spaces and beyond. In this chapter, our protagonist, the man in the black robe, faces a moment of change. He decides it is time to act, preparing for new challenges and adventures. However, despite all the hardships, he remains undeterred. The state of calm he finds in writing brings clarity to his thoughts and helps him gather his strength for the next challenge. He writes about his feelings, his thoughts, everything that shapes his journey as a warrior and protector. The tranquility of his soul is interrupted by the arrival of an old acquaintance with whom he shares his thoughts on the past battle. Together they discuss strategy and next steps. It is a warrior's dialogue where every word and gesture matters. When he emerges from the confines of his musings, the protagonist meets the new day with firmness and confidence. He welcomes the dawn, knowing that each new morning brings new opportunities and new battles. He is ready for them, armed with the wisdom of the past and hope for the future. Once upon a time, in a world where reality intertwines with fantasy, a new labyrinthine city emerged, famous for its towers towering above the clouds and dark corners full of mystery and danger. In this place known as Palzion, life is boiling, and each inhabitant plays a unique role in the grand play of fate. Dehaman, a long-haired warrior dressed in a black robe, stands at the entrance to the city. He recalls his childhood spent playing games where every mission and quest was but a pale shadow compared to the reality surrounding him now. The city appears to him as a giant organism with a life of its own, and Dehaman realizes that every step forward is a plunge into the uncharted depths of this world. He hears whispers of legends about the Stone of Wishes, rumored to be at the heart of the labyrinth. This stone has the power to grant his most cherished wish, but to do so he must overcome many challenges. Dehaman knows that the path to the stone will be full of obstacles, including battles with monsters lurking in the darkness and solving the puzzles that labyrinthine corridors of Palzion hold. But before he can begin his quest, Dallin meets Bokmagalios, the owner of the Kalios trading house, a man with whom he might develop a useful relationship for the journey ahead. Bokma speaks of them as comrades who have faced dangers together and suggests that Dallin address him more informally. There is a sense of camaraderie between them, but also some tension. Laughing, Bokma makes a hint of suggesting Dallin become his personal mercenary. Dallin's reaction is mixed. He is surprised, but also thoughtful. The offer sounds serious, and it's clear that Bokma sees potential in Dallin to become his personal mercenary. What unfolds next is a picture of a labyrinthine city populated by superhumans. Bokma assures Dallin that he will soon stand shoulder to shoulder with these miraculous beings, hinting at a shared future full of challenges and adventures. As the conversation progresses, Bokma continues to probe Dallin's intentions, persistently trying to recruit him. But Dallin remains impenetrable, his thoughts remaining hidden. An offer full of promises of mutual benefit hangs in the air, but Dallin's silence speaks for itself. In the end, Bokma accepts Dallin's unspoken refusal with resignation but also understanding. There is a sense of respect in this acceptance, a recognition of Dallin's unwavering stance. Bokma seems to have expected this outcome and perhaps even respects Dallin more for his decision. Then, too, Dallin receives a reward consisting of 15 shillings, which Bokma hands to him with unexpected generosity. This action comes as a surprise to Bokma, who seemed to expect less for his political commitment. But the money represents not only payment but also an investment in the future, a gesture that emphasizes Bokma's desire to strengthen his bond with Dallin, a warrior from the north. Dallin, for his part, seems satisfied with the offer and appreciates not only the material component but also the opportunity to strengthen his position and relationship with Bokma. He asks Bokma not to exclude him from further plans, to which Bokma replies that the offer sounds good, but a final decision will be made later. In a final exchange of remarks, Dallin asserts his role as a soldier of the North, emphasizing his strength and determination. They shake hands, cementing their agreement, symbolizing mutual respect and anticipation of future cooperation. In the streets of the city, illuminated by the soft light of the sunset, a crowd of citizens bustle about their business. They are all a mosaic of the life of this place, from the soldiers standing guard to the simple passers-by and merchants. At the center of it all stands Dallin, majestic in his dark cloak, his gaze fixed on the majestic walls of the fortress stretching high into the sky. As he approaches, Bokmagalios again offers Dallin to join his house as his personal mercenary. This offer seems to make Dallin hesitate, and he admits that he has never met such an offer before. His words hint at the possibility of events in this world changing depending on his choices and actions. This discovery seems tempting, but Dallin is certain that his path is already predetermined. In his musings, he decides that he must follow his destiny once he arrives in the city. With these thoughts, he heads through the streets, determined to follow his path. As the sun sets, Dallin walks past the various residents as he continues his journey, retreating into the shadows that stretch across the cobblestone streets. His gait is confident and determined, and he seems focused only on his tasks, oblivious to the world around him. He stops in front of a tavern where the light of the lanterns flickers welcomingly in the pre-dawn silence. Looks like I've come to the right place, he thinks, lifting his gaze to the warm light emanating from the windows. In this place, perhaps new allies, information, or adventures await him. But whatever it is, Dallin seems ready for the challenges ahead. Under a ceiling decorated with the light of oil lamps, Dallin enters a tavern full of noise and clatter. He stops at the threshold, gazing into the faces of the customers who seem to find comfort in a mug of beer and the warmth of society after a long day. Suddenly, loud voices are heard. One of the visitors, a man with coarse features and one eye, speaks of being tied to a pole. The words are harsh and full of rage. His interlocutor, an equally massive man with pale skin, responds with an angry exclamation, expressing his despair at the curse of this world, which, he says, long ago wallowed in the devils of the dog. Dallin, observing the scene, bows his head as if seeking refuge from the chaos raging around him. But his peace is shattered when he notices that this place, the tavern, is exactly where he was supposed to be. Suddenly his attention is caught by something unexpected, causing him to have a reaction of surprise. He turns, and then his teeth gleam in anticipation of his next move, and his eyes burn with the fire of the adventure ahead. And then, the notification of a new find: you have discovered the footprints of a soldier's corpse. Dallin encounters a message that promises him an inheritance of the abilities, skills, and items of a defeated enemy. This opens up new horizons of possibilities and strategies for him. The next notification leads him to the corpse assemblage, where he discovers something deadly and beautiful in its danger. A smile spreads across Dalen's face, and as he gazes at the notice, his resolve only strengthens. I will make it to the end of this game, no matter what. He promises to himself and perhaps to the world beyond these walls that is hungry for his stories. In the shadows of the night, in front of flickering screens, we find a gamer absorbed in a difficult game. His predilection for difficult games and the controllability, the physical overtones that make easy games boring, becomes his misfortune. This game proves to be a tough challenge even for an experienced player. The main character is weak and the monsters are strong, and the world within the game is hurtling towards destruction. Every ally that could help seems to be either seduced by demons or busy trying to stab you in the back. But our gamer is persistent. He dies hundreds of times without giving up, spending sleepless nights with the thought that he will somehow see the end of this game. However, despite the countless deaths and determination to reach the end, he faces reality. Sometimes it takes real money to reach the goal. Puzzled and frustrated, he wonders, what kind of damn game requires spending real money to see the end? But he doesn't back down and agrees to spend the money because too much time has already been invested in the game to just quit. With the feeling of being trapped by time and investment, he continues to buy the items needed to advance, even if it goes against his wishes. With mixed feelings, the gamer continues his struggle, hoping that the end of the game is worth all the effort. In a cozy tavern, under the dim light of lanterns, the scene comes alive with the clatter of a mug on the table, exploding contents that seem to express Dalen's inner rebellion. His laughter hides his disappointment as he regretfully admits that perhaps he should have deleted the game long ago. He looks around the side of the tavern, feeling that his failures are invisible to those around him. On-screen notification reveals the pathetic body of a soldier, implying that he needs to return to the site of his own death to collect the remains. The mechanics of corpse harvesting opens up to Dalen, offering a new possibility of infinite growth by inheriting the powers of previous lives. This promise of new power perhaps gives him hope that all his many failures have not been in vain. With a chuckle, he contemplates the flaw of the system when he must personally go to retrieve his remains. But Dalen, realizing that this is part of the game he has already invested so much in, is willing to accept the challenge. His resolve strengthens as he looks at the purchase notice, and despite his inner resistance, he chooses yes, ready to spend the money and continue his journey. His aura crackling with mysterious energy, he stands among the remains of defeated enemies, the air around him alive with the sound of new power. Absorbing the essence of the fallen, his power grows, each soul adding a point of strength. His eyes, reflecting a calm mind, flash with the realization of the abilities he commands, a quiet acknowledgement of his increasing power. With each defeated foe, he delves deeper into the complex canvas of combat, unlocking the secrets of the armored host from the legendary commander of the Knights, Dehaman, whose skills now amplify Dalen's power. The air ripples with the raw energy of his new skill, a visible testament to the power flowing through his veins. In the warmth of the dimly lit tavern, where the sounds of merriment and clinking glasses are a distant echo, Dalen ponders his path. His face, normally an impenetrable mask, blurs into a rare smile that speaks of satisfaction and the excitement of discovery. This world, full of challenge and betrayal, has become his proving ground, each trial a stepping stone on the path to his evolution. Having finished his business in this humble tavern, Dalen stands up, his form casting a long shadow on the wooden floor, a ghostly giant among men. His departure is delayed by a call, an unfamiliar voice inviting him to stay. Turning around, he faces the stranger, curiosity red in his gaze, questioning his presence in such a place. Dalen's sharp and penetrating gaze catches sight of a familiar figure. A flash of recognition in his mind, a flicker of anger and thirst for revenge. A cold realization flashes through his mind. This was the very man who had once defeated him, a stain in his history of conquest. But Dalen is not one to let the ghosts of past defeats overshadow him. With a smirk, he recognizes the skill that once led to his downfall is now part of his arsenal, a weapon turned against his former master. When a confrontation breaks out, Dalen's adversary, unaware of the internal storm simmering within him, dares to demand payment for the security supposedly provided within these walls. The tavern owner's greed is obvious, his hand outstretched in expectation of payment for the peace he supposedly guarantees. But Dalen's response is as cold as the steel of his sword, his refusal to pay a clear disdain for the man's insolence. The dagger gleams in the shadows, its blade sharp as the tension in the room. Dalen's perception penetrates deeper than any blade, the recognition is clear. This weapon that once determined his fate is now the instrument of his resurrection, the symbol of his unyielding will. The cycle of death and rebirth embodied in the steel of the dagger now serves as a reminder of his steadfastness. Tensions rise at the tavern when a meeting between Dallin, a mysterious wanderer in black, and the unfriendly tavern manager, Marwin, turns into a confrontation. Marwin, a man with a face scribbled with guile, claims that Dallin owes him money for the right to safety in his establishment. He claims it is a semblance of a transfer tax that everyone must pay to him as manager. Calm and collected, Dallin stares at him with icy calm, his gaze impenetrable and cold. Maroon insists violently, but Dallin does not give in to his entreaties. Eventually, the manager admits defeat and allows Dallin to leave without payment. With a quiet, then farewell, Dallin leaves the tavern, leaving behind a stunned Maroon and his minions. Maroon, whose confident and slightly cunning gaze is hidden in the shadows, which adds to his mystery. He holds an object in his hands, surrounded by an aura of concentration. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Maroon is caught off guard by an unseen force, his eyes glowing with an ominous red light, signaling impending danger. Tension builds as he is forcefully thrown backwards, movements so fast that dynamic blurs are created. Dallin, for his part, stands steadfast against the light of dawn or dusk, his silhouette looming against the bright background, and he declares his intention not to fall for the same tricks, alluding to their shared history and a rivalry that is far from over. Maroon, still stunned from the previous encounter, utters with an effort, "Damn," and his face reflects a mixture of pain and rage. The next scene reveals the silhouette of another warrior who, standing under the starry sky, shouts, "Hey, everyone inside, come out." His challenge casts a shadow on the ground, and his figure looms against the light. The other two characters watch the events with bewilderment and fear, wondering at the gigantic size of the arrival. They ask themselves if he is a wild one who has come from the north, their voices filled with wonder and disbelief. Meanwhile, the cloaked character seems to take in what is happening with calmness and curiosity, saying, His expression is impenetrable, but his eyes read interest. Suddenly, he speaks of the new skill with a smile, noting its timeliness. His smirk is shrewd and full of hidden meaning. Next, he challenges with a sense of confidence, urging his opponents to attack. "Come on, attack me." His stance is full of defiance and steadfastness. Next, we see a group of warriors surrounding him. One of them, full of determination and rage, shouts, "This arrogant rascal, everyone attack." Then the warrior in the foreground, with a menacing expression on his face and anger in his voice, shouts, "Die." The tension of the moment and his desire to win is emphasized. And then Dallin activates his skill, surrounded by a mystical purple light. The power of his skill can be felt in the air, and he is ready to fight. The battle gathers momentum, and Dallin, whose eyes glow with an ominous violet light, dispels the darkness with magical blobs of energy emanating from his hands. He concentrates, and his power grows with each passing moment. In the next moment, clenching his fist, Dallin channels his newfound power into one mighty blow. The light of his skill explodes dazzlingly, emphasizing the intensity of the moment. The barrage of energy crashes forward, exploding into a huge ball of energy that Dallin releases from his hands. The warriors attacking him come at Dallin from all sides, but his strength is unwavering. He maneuvers with incredible agility, dodging and deflecting blows. With every move Dallin makes, his robe flutters in time with his magical power, adding drama to a battle that seems more like a dance of death than a battle. However, when the enemies try to attack, they encounter an unexpected obstacle. Their swords and blows cannot penetrate Dallin's defenses, as if the human body has become as strong as steel. Dallin continues his attack, swinging a weapon that emits magical light, and in his every movement is determination and strength. Finally, Dallin turns to face a new challenge, his silhouette looming against the dissipating energy, and he is ready for the next phase of the battle. Purple light emanates from his fist, his willpower translating into energy as he prepares for the decisive strike. With furious force, he swings his arm, creating a wave of energy that cuts through the air and strikes his opponents dead. His actions are swift and precise, and his magical power is terrifying. In the next moment, Dallin gazes upward with excitement, his gaze full of determination and fearlessness. He represents a strength that should not be underestimated. In the midst of the battle, Dallin, his face scarred and strained, grits his teeth hard and curses to himself, "Shit." He realizes that his attempt to grab his opponent's wrist rather than his blade has failed. Standing amongst the defeated foes, he ponders his actions, wondering if his skill level is too low. He ponders his parameters and his armored combat skill level, which is only 5% so far. Dallin looks at his stats with frustration and discontent, expressing his disappointment at the difficulty of the game he is involved in. Only 1%? This game is so damn hard. He looks at his armored combat skill again, noting his low proficiency and noticing that even after all that fighting, his proficiency has only increased by 1%. Then someone calls out to Dallin. The heavy breathing of an angry man resonates in the air like a warning. What did you do? His voice is on the verge of hysteria. But Dallin doesn't move, his face stony, his gaze cold. The townsman continues to shout, accusing Dallin of committing an open-air attack with a clear disregard for the law, despite the latter's status as a mercenary. Dallin, unfazed, only watches as the man's anger flares ever brighter. But the conversation is cut short abruptly. Dallin's silhouette vanishes, leaving behind only the whoosh of air being cleaved by a deadly swift movement. Damn it, my hand slipped, he apologizes, but his words sound more like mockery as he gracefully manipulates his weapon, displaying a skill and strength that is such a contrast to his calm demon. Dallin turns and his face is illuminated by the dim light, casting long shadows on the walls of the surrounding buildings. So, what did you want to say? His voice is quiet, but each word is shrilly clear to the stunned crowd. This is the end of the first part. If you want to see part 2, write in the comments the secret word, warrior. So I will understand that you have seen this video to the end, as well as let's get 500 likes because it motivates me very much. That's all for now, see you later and bye bye.